Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson, I'm going to be taking parts of the previous tutorials that I created and going to create a new project with it. So taking all those techniques and then combining them together to do something is a great way to take stuff that's just kind of technique driven and boring and actually making something functional. So we're going to be pulling on the techniques of using texture product in your artwork, using mediums for glue. We're going to be stenciling texture product through a stencil. I've got another one here that I can see how worn it is. It's not DecoArt stencil. It's a little big for what I want to do, so I created one of these on my Scan and Cut just for little handprint. You can use anything, but I thought this was kind of cute because the quote that I chose. Human life is inherently creative. It's why we all have different resumes. It's why human culture is so interesting and diverse and dynamic, from Ken Robinson. So I'm going to be using that quote as my jump off point. So I have a piece of packaging. This is for what? What was that for? Barley and flax. So, it's oatmeal. And taking from previous video lessons, I took texture product. Oh God, what if I would have showed you? Oh my goodness. Took modeling paste, put it through, and then I just took paper towel cores and just, made a whole bunch of indentations. This I did outside the video just to have this ready for today because you should learn the technique in those videos. Then I cut a piece off that's 2.5 by 3. 2.5 by 3? 2.5 by 3.5. 2.5 by 3.5 for an artist trading card. You can use anything. What I'm going to do is, because of texture there, I'm going to grunge up, dry brush some paint. I'm going to take part of an old book. Now, before you start screaming at me and hating me, the books that I have for art are books that were destined for landfill. I took them and I am recycling the pages. And so I'm going to take some of that. I'm going to vintage up the color, tear a piece here. Then I'm going to stencil using DecoArt's crackle paste because I want this to be cracked. And I'm going to put the hand there and then the quote. Now you can use stuff like it. I've done batches of these, take cards and just through tutorials and technique demonstrations, I come up with all these. And then these are things that you can use, when you're practicing, use them in art in the future. So I've got the crackle paste, I've got the DecoArt Traditions Matte Medium, then I've got the acrylics, transparent yellow iron oxide, burnt sienna, quinacridone burnt orange, then some DecoArt Glamour Dust, ultra fine glitter paint, and ice crystal. Yes, I know I'm not using transparent red iron oxide because they stopped making it. So I'm going to make up my own using a, kind of a rough mixture of burnt sienna and quinacridone burnt orange. All right, let's get to it. First thing I'm going to do is, because this is going to require drying time, let's do this first. I have to make sure there's no swear words in here. All right, so going to take this and let me just, and I'm pulling it towards me, that way I have some of the torn edges here. And yep, that looks pretty good. Make sure it's bigger on 3 sides, because then when I glue that down, then I can trim that with scissors to make sure that the glue actually gets underneath. But I got to paint this first, and I've got palette paper here. Put that aside. Let's do it first with transparent yellow iron oxide, and I probably could have gotten away with the yeah, that should work. I probably could have gotten away with the oh, come on, Gisele. The media line. My God. Really? I'm going to take some water. Just going to spray that. Now, if your paper is very weak, use matte medium to strengthen the paper. I guess I could have showed you how to do that, right? all I would do is just take the matte medium, put it right in the paint, and then just put that right on top. This is just going to make the page a little bit stronger as well. The back doesn't matter. So let's just, I'm going to take some of the paint and just go, take the edge and just go right inside. Now, if you're not sure about how the paint's going to react, apply a layer of matte medium to your unpainted page first. Let that dry, and then put the paint on. Then you can always wipe it off. Right, this, I can't wipe this off. Put that over there. It may be a little bit too yellow, but that's okay. Let me do another piece showing you that technique. Just stiffen up the paper. So I'm going to take a clean brush, and I just clean my brush. Don't want to contaminate. And then I'll just put that right on top. This paper is really, really old. And I can just paint right there. And it's going to create some strength. So this is good for you if you're using fine paper. There we go. So we'll be able to compare that when that's dry. And then I can also add another layer of this as well. The more layers of the medium is it's just going to make things stronger. It's going to make it stiffer. All right. Now, let's work with that. I'm going, oh, I forgot to color. Would you want to work with a gray? No, let's work with, let's say, raw umber. Let's work with raw umber. Because it's neutral enough. And dry bristle brush that's shedding. Course. And I'm just going to blot that on a paper towel, and ever so lightly. We want to make this grungy. These brushes, oh my God. That says a word. I don't know what it was. It looks like it says a word. See, and as you do this quite lightly, you can see that it really accentuates, like really make that grungy. And you know what? If you don't like the raw umber, here, let's just do this. Burnt umber is a bit more red. I could have taken raw umber and added red to it. Yeah, that's pretty. And the paper is going to cover this, but just to show you the technique. I'm just going in towards, inside into the card. That way it makes the edges nice and dark. Then, if you want to remove some of what's on the top part, you can take a baby wipe. Make sure you keep turning it. That way you're just not putting wet paint back inside the grooves. And depending on what the newspaper is going, or what the card is going to cover, then you've got a nice grungy piece now. Totally optional. You don't have to do that. Let that dry, and then from here you can put a layer of matte medium on this if your card was really thin. This is nice and thick. I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm going to have a white border here, which I'm not liking. I'm also thinking that's way too yellow. So guess what we have to do? Well, not we, me. I'm going to have to overlap. Either overlap or... Yeah, I'm not liking that, but where'd that quote go? If I don't like that white border on the bottom. If I overlap that and then put the handprint Or just get another piece of paper. I don't want to hide all that. There we go. I'm liking that. And all these pieces here, I'm going to use that in something else. Yeah, I like that. Okay. I don't want to wait for this to dry. I don't want to wait for that to dry. I'm going to go right into transparent yellow iron oxide. I'm just going to go right over this. We want to make this dark enough. The handprint is going to be white. I really want that to stand out. So this is going to be dark. So my idea for this, and this is more of a message piece that I'm creating. I did an Instagram post a little while ago that, you know, what kind of world would we live in if we didn't have art? Art being visual art, music, entertainment, that type of thing. With the way things are happening in the world right now, you know, there's government cuts being done, not just here, but everywhere. And the arts are usually something that's done. And can you imagine this world without art? It would be gray. It would be boring. Clothes, people think, you know, art. Somebody has an idea and then takes that idea and creates something. The clothes that you're wearing, the furniture that you're using, the chair that you're sitting on, all that is, somebody had to think of that idea. That's all art. Taking something from your mind and creating something out of it. So my idea is to take something that's kind of blah. They're going to have this high contrast of this hand with the quote. That is going to be flipping gorgeous. See, what turned out to be how I was planning it is turning out into something completely different, which I think will have a better meaning. But if you don't have a, you know, if you just want to create art for the sake of creating art and don't have a statement to make, then use whatever you want. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to glue this down now. I'm going to take the matte medium, and you can use decoupage medium, whatever you have. Don't get hung up on using the exact same products that I am. Just use whatever you have. Now, if you're using a shiny card, when you're using any type of texture product, you have to make sure that it has something to stick to. So I would highly recommend a layer of matte medium or decoupage medium, something that's got some tooth. If you're working straight on canvas, gesso. You need the texture product, you need to stick to something. So I put that on there. Now I'm going to do this as well. I'm going to put the medium on the back side. And I'm going to let it sit for a second to absorb into the paper. Put another layer on. You want to make it thick enough that it actually adheres. And because it's on both sides, I'll be able to position it. Like that. Then I'm going to take the medium and go right over everything. And off camera, what I'll do too is once this is dry, I'll cut this and then I'll put some medium on the side as well, like right in here, to create that nice seal. You want to make sure that it is really in there. You can also burnish if you have something flat. You can burnish. You can also fold that right over. Actually, that looks like a good idea. Right there. Do whatever it takes just to get it done. And this one I'm going to cut. Wait for it to dry though. Another layer. As many layers as you see fit. I just put a little light one on the back. And now I'm going to put everything here to dry. And I'm going to clean up, and when we come back, we'll start the texture stage. All right, so I've got that. Now, this one here, what I did, oops, I guess I should show you what I did. I took some DecoArt Metallic Luster, the copper kettle. Put that back. Then I took the bristle brush, and I just went in towards, just to get a bit of a contrast out there. And so for the hands, now I'm going to use, I changed my mind, I'm going to use the small hands, but I need to cut them out because the working area is a bit small. I hope this works. So see, I've got that one there, but this one will overlap. So let's, so I'm going to do one here, and then one here. That looks good. I'm going to have to do, which one first? That one, then that one. There we go. And you can use whatever stencil you want. DecoArt didn't have stencils with hands, so that's why I just made my own. Let's glue that on first. No, let's not. Let's do the crackle paste first. So I'm going to use the crackle paste. I'm going to vintage the edges with the burnt sienna and quinacridone burnt toward at the very end, because I want to, yeah, I'm going to do that at the very end. I have to think there for a second. So we'll put this one right down here. Very, very carefully. And the thicker it is, the bigger the cracks. Now the unfortunate thing is, because I'm using a paper stencil that I made, that the stencil itself may curl. Ooh, okay, well, that'll do. Not my ideal choice. Yeah, right there. Not my ideal choice. Hands out. Because the paper is quite thin. See how it lifts up? There, so it's much better. But so I did one thick, one thin, so you'll be able to see the differences. Now we're talking, well, read the directions. For time, it doesn't say. For time, I'm thinking this about an hour at least, so we'll let that dry. With that being done, then I'm going to glue that. I should wait. I'm going to glue that now. Let me just get that in there. It's going to overlap a little bit. The quote's a little big. The quote's a little big, but yeah, I should wait for this to dry. I just don't have the patience right now. I only have a very limited amount of time. And you can hand stamp these as well if you want. That's fine. That's going to overlap a little bit. That's okay. And then I'm going to very carefully take the matte medium over this to create a seal. Right under here I missed. I could tear that off, but I don't want to muck with that. Ah. All right, so I'm going to come back in about an hour, and if it hasn't started, I want to try to get it before it starts cracking so I can show you guys like the progression. Let me take my glasses off. No, not yet. We'll see what it looks like. Hopefully I'll catch it in time, and then we'll do the edges. So I'm filming another project, but I just want to show you what this looks like so far. Where did it go? You can see the cracks happening in the thin part. We've got the thick part. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the glamour dust, just a speck, and I want to put it on this one. To see what happens. What I was wondering about doing was, what if I sprinkled the glamour dust powder on this one here being wet? What would happen? I don't know. But the finger parts are starting to crack. So that's going to be interesting. So it's been an hour. That's going to take probably overnight. So we'll see what happens. All right. So I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out. So I kind of did a little bit of work on the side. Just I didn't want to waste any time. So look how nice this thin piece is here. It's got nice cracks. And by applying the crackle piece like super thick, you get these really thick, cracks. And at the same time, the paper kind of took a bit of a curve. I like the smaller cracks. Obviously, this one here is like super thick. I don't know if you can see how thick that is right here. Really thick. But it's all right. Now, also what I did, and it's a good thing I had some scrap that I practiced with. I took the patina green antiquing cream along with the white, and it didn't make a difference, so I just took the patina and I put it inside, and then I rubbed and rubbed and rubbed. Not a fan of the look. It could be just because of the color. Not a fan of the look, but I took the glamour dust and put it on this one. I don't know if you can see a little bit of that shine there. Where did it go? A little bit. I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of cute. I kind of like the way that, you know, you've got the cracks and you've got the sparkle. So, yeah, so it's was interesting. This, and I think a lot of this has to do with, you know, how cold it is. How cold it is. I think next time what I'll do is I'll do this probably in a morning and not have it where it will cure overnight, because you turn the furnace down overnight and it gets really cold. So, but anyway, so I hope that you enjoyed this and we'll give it a try. I don't know if there's any DIY crackle products out there, but you know, if you have a recipe that you follow, or if you have a particular product that you really like, post it in the comments below. That way anybody who's just starting out can get an idea of what you think works and doesn't, and keeps the experimenting down to a minimal cost. And I would love to see pictures of what you've done using your own favorite crackle product. And so for that, head on over to the Facebook group. That's where I'm hanging out. And post your pictures there. That way we can all look and admire. Alrighty? So I'm going to clean up and get ready for my next project. Until then, stay inspired.